welcome back to another episode of Bone Apple Tea.
What?
I don't know.
We still do this podcast?
Yeah, I know, right? I'm like, what do I even say right now? I'm kind of rusty, not gonna lie. But it's been flipping forever. It's been months, I think.
Yeah.
But besides the point, we are back, so get used to it. But anyways, we had a lovely podcast today because recently Randall and a large group of people filmed a movie called The Screens. Or sorry, I should say a film called The Screens. It's a short film. And anyways, really cool. And dropped a log line just because. On the spot. It's fine.
Here, I'll find it. It's on the IMDb. Hold
mystery, horror, thriller movie. Really cool. Anyways, the whole point of this podcast was we sat down with Randall, obviously, but then Harvey, who is also one of the lead actors in the film, and then Erik Champney, who's actually the writer-director of the film. It used to be a play that he had put on, and it won a whole bunch of awards, etc.
The log line is, when a patient in a psychiatric hospital engages with an unfamiliar visitor, he discovers the two might share a frightening connection.
Yes. It's very intriguing.
It is.
Asks a lot of questions of you.
That's right.
And anyways, the whole podcast is basically about the film and the process of the film, and Erik just as the director, the directing process, kind of what his plans are for the future, if he's going to stay, because he's always been a theater guy and he's kind of pivoting to film as of late. And so, we kind of wanted to know, all right, hey man, are you going to keep doing movies? He's a very great writer and turned out to be a fantastic director as well. So anyways, and he is very well spoken. So you get to hear him kind of dive into, a whole bunch of things about the film, and then as well as like Randy and Harvey's perspective of just filming the movie itself and some of the stuff they had to go through just as actors, and just the whole filming process, because it was also produced by these guys, right? So
got all angles going on here.
So it's a good podcast if you're into, acting, filming, directing, or any of that type of stuff. Which most people are. So,
there it is.
Give it a listen.
Sweet.
All right. We'll see you next time. Bye. Oh, enjoy the episode. Honestly, for whatever reason, I thought that we had you on, but maybe we were just disgusted, or we had talked about it.
Yeah, we had only...
You discussed it, or you were
did.
disgusted?
I was both disgusted that we hadn't, and then we discussed having you on.
Wow,
that's...
What a good pivot.
Yeah. It's been a very long time.
Wow.
Since the beginning of the conversation of me coming on.
It has. But I just want everybody to know, since we're in it now, everybody's focused.
That he's disgusted.
Yeah, there was no action on this one.
Yeah.
I know. He just kind of came at me with his, hi, bitch, tell me about things.
Yeah.
And I'm like...
Yeah. You ready? You ready to tell me about some stuff, right?
Yeah, what have you guys been up to?
Yeah, Erik, so
what do you guys do with your lives?
Yeah.
That's what we want to know here.
What do you guys do with your lives?
That's a great question.
We used to do this.
Yeah, we used to do this a lot, actually. When we first started back in 2019, before
we actually have like a BP and an AP.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. But it's so it was before all of that we started, and it was all we were trying to do taking highly complex topics and breaking them down to be simple to understand. And then somewhere along the line, we realized that was very, very time consuming. And the only reason we had time for that was because of being stuck at home together all the time.
Right.
And then it slowly shifted to, let's just do interviews with people, because we know a lot of really awesome people that have a lot of really cool things to say. So let's
and we couldn't find any of them, so we had you guys on.
I was about to say, why the fuck am I here?
Because you're British, and we needed some European flavor.
Right. Otherwise, it's almost racist.
Yeah.
I mean,
frankly.
Yeah. Really,
Right. You're lucky we have a Lebanese guy.
Yeah, dude, that's the only saving grace of the show.
So many boxes.
Yeah, today it's
checking
good.
off so many
today
boxes.
it's almost, you're at an A.
Yeah.
Easily.
This is like a CW show. We just,
we got a +1, +1. You're like a -2.
Yeah, that's okay.
Well, yeah, literal Nazi.
Yeah. Very wasp.
Very wasp.
Yes.
Fucking all-American apple pie bullshit Hitler Nazi core.
Wow. I'm getting the
and you know what else? You're stupid.
And you're ugly.
And you're ugly.
Look at him when he smiles.
Oh, God. What are we going to do?
All right. Anyway.
So
film.
back into it, though, because we met a long time ago. And I've actually talked about you. It feels like a long time. But if you think about it, actually,
it was 2020, right? 2020.
Yeah, it was right when we moved into this space, actually.
Coming on 3 years.
I mean, that's kind of a long time.
Coming on 3.
Well, it's just...
It was sped by so fast, though.
It did. And I think because, I've also talked about you a decent amount on this podcast because anytime Tuesday would get brought up, it'd be like, oh yeah, Tuesday this, Tuesday that. Eric wrote it. He's a great writer, and he's turned out to be an amazing director. And
accidentally.
Yeah, right? And that was the thing, is like I think you had mentioned that like you didn't even really, like you had done a directing of like a play or something. Or
I directed in school, and I directed in school.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know how to.
No, you're good.
Stop yelling at me. I directed in school, and I have a very like strong idea of directing as far as film is concerned, just because of what I grew up watching, and because I was a disabled child, and I was in and out of hospitals and whatnot to get the muscle deficiency, and my legs like all wrapped up. And now I've done my disenfranchisement. Hire me.
He's different.
He's marginalized.
But my parents were very liberal with me in this, and allowing me to discover what I enjoyed and what I was fascinated by, and that ended up being Hitchcock films and Sondheim musicals and Italian horror films. And like by the time I was 10 years old, I was probably on my way definitely to becoming a Hitchcock aficionado, because I was just seeing everything that I could get my hands on. And that was during a renaissance where they were re-releasing all of his films in like new formats. And so it became very easy to suddenly like find a Hitchcock movie at Walmart. You know, it was it was really just a wonderful scourge. And this was in Shreveport, Louisiana, and I'm finding obscure copies of Hitchcock, copies of the more obscure Hitchcock movies at Walmart and at like, you know, places, because just for a little while it was everywhere, and it was very happy for me because it wasn't much of a hunt to find anything. But growing up and looking at cinema through those perspectives, that really was subconsciously my education. So I bring all of this subtext of what I think movies are and what they can do to this, hopefully with a bunch of wonderful people that I'm kind of standing on the shoulders of, but at the same time, I think that they're mine. I have influences, but I think that what we've accomplished so far in film, we've only been 2 films so far, but they're unmistakably movies that I made, I think, even though they're both so incredibly different, which makes sense.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is like the shift from Tuesday to now, the screens is like so huge, right? Like the Tuesday was like a lovely story about a family and coming together, and maybe what it takes to approach fear as a person who has something that's right in front of them. And
it's definitely like an overcoming of a challenge.
Right,
film.
right. And it's like
about the day a man grows up.
Yeah, exactly. And it ends, and it's very heartwarming and lovely. You get those butterflies in your stomach. Hopeful. And then we get to the screens, and we are just completely different from what Tuesday was. And so walk me through, when did you even write this? Because the screen started as a play.
Yeah.
So when did you write the screens initially?
Years ago. I wrote it years ago while sitting on a screen porch. And for those of you who don't know, which all of you don't know, is that there's a character in the film / play who envisions himself in a fantasy world that happens to be like a southern screen porch filled with flowers and greenery and all of that. And I actually was sitting on the screen porch that was adjacent to my home in Shreveport, Louisiana, where I'm from, and was experiencing a very fraught relationship with somebody. And it just kind of became my artistic reaction to it. I sat there on that porch and wrote the whole thing from start to finish.
Wow.
Then I typed it up and I brought it to a friend of mine whose opinion that I trust. And she read it. By the end of it, she was crying, and she said, "This is the most beautiful thing that you've ever written," which coming from her name is Megan Carter. And she's done well for herself in the theater. But that meant a lot to me because her opinion was at the time one that was very formidable to me. But I knew then, because she was a hard egg to crack, you know, and so she
would have told you if it wasn't good.
She would have told me if she thought that it needed work.
Right.
And her initial response was just being very affected by it. But and then eventually I began to submit it to short play, because it's a short play. It's just short play festivals all over the country. It started getting productions. We got a number of productions all over America, like in San Francisco and in Washington State and Columbus, Ohio, and excuse me, it goes on and on. Colorado, New York twice, and I've never felt, because the script always felt inherently like very private and very mine, and I've really enjoyed the different perspectives of directors because I've never seen the same production of this play twice.
Right.
It's always been very different because it's so malleable, and it really, I think, offers directors a chance to have a vision. But it's also a play that's written to be produced very cheaply. It's a chair and 2 actors and whatever you want to do with the lights. And short plays and short play festivals don't get full sets and full costumes typically, not unless you're dealing with, an upper echelon professional theater or anything like that. But like in the smaller places, the idea of short play festivals is they're rather like fundraisers for the company. And you get a lot of people involved, and sometimes people are getting like 10,000 submissions from all over the country. And when your play is being selected from a number that high, several times, then you start to get the impression, well, I guess this works. And, and I never really thought of it as a film until one day last August. I just decided that I needed to make the movie with you and Harvey.
Yeah. Well, I remember
it was just like, oh yeah, that's what I need to do.
Yeah, and it was so fun. It was so fun because we had kind of like, we were heading to Ferrara Film Festival for Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. We were a couple weeks away from it.
We were like a couple weeks away. And I think we were sort of on this, like, riding the high of like, our film is in this awesome festival in Italy and what's going to be our next thing. And then I get a call from you and it's like, oh, I have this play called The Screens.
Read it right now.
Yeah, read it right now. And I did. And I called you immediately after and it's like, all right, let's start doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was just so affected by it. And I thought that there was so much that we could do with it that it just needed to be done. And it was so funny because almost immediately me and Harvey went to you, it was in August.
Mm-hmm.
We went to you like maybe a week later to just do a reading.
Yeah, within a week or two.
Yeah.
And the two of you came over to my apartment in New York and we read through it, and I was already listening to you, like making cuts and making rewrites, just right on the spot.
Yes.
I remember. Yeah. Oh, jeez, that was so fucking long ago.
I know, it's crazy to think how much. Well, like I think a big reason why this film was able to be done in the time that it was done was because we had put in that work of months and months of rehearsal and edits and tweaks and let's get this.
It wouldn't have gone nearly as smoothly, and we wouldn't have been able to do it in 3 days unless we fully had that shit together, like on fucking pat. Like, yeah. Otherwise, it's gonna be a fucking mess.
That was last August. Like 2022?
August 2022.
Let alone getting the
Not
actual
even that
set
long
together.
ago, to be honest.
Yeah, no.
No, it's the turnover was really lightning fast.
Yeah.
And in November, we began to rehearse it once a month. And we'd have these really wonderful, like 3 to 5 hour rehearsals. And we would shape it and rehearse it and build it and experiment. And every rehearsal was in many ways a completely different experience. And we kept finding it. And but the distance between each rehearsal gave me the opportunity to become objective with what we've done. So each time I came into a new rehearsal, I could see right away, this doesn't work. This needs to be adjusted. This needs to change. Mm-hmm. And then right before we shot it, I pulled the rug out under Harvey and I said, okay.
That's what his little laughter was about.
I went through like 3 different characters, like completely throughout this process easily.
Yeah.
And it was a whole thing, and had to get to this weird point of like creepy, but I mean, because it's a thriller horror, and at the end of the day, but it needs to be something like that has an effect on you. And so we didn't want it. We started this big theatrical Alan, and then we kind of moved down a notch, and then we moved up a little bit, and then we kind of made that into something a little scarier. And it was like, fuck me, it was a whole process. But it was like, as an actor, oh my God, like the most useful stuff.
Okay,
easily.
so you got toned down, like You guys
Well,
humanize
I rehearsed it
him a
like
bit
a
more?
I rehearsed it like a play, and directed it like a play, and then when it was time to subdue it all and pull it back in and turn it into a piece that you can put a camera in front of, a lot of decisions had to be made about Harvey's character, Alan, as far as how can we convey the darkness and the sinister and the vulnerability and the heartache and the trauma in a way that isn't melodramatic or over the top or silly.
That's the cool thing with, film, right? Is like you have all these tools you can use
I'll just
as
let him do
opposed
the
to having
talking.
like
You make it sound like I really
you
went
know.
through something. I did, but you make it sound great. Just keep talking about how hard it was.
But, but I was actually going to ask, like, you saw, like, you've seen the play, obviously, a bunch of times. You said several different directors. Were there things that you took from, or you saw, like, okay, ex-director from Ohio versus New York. Were there things that you saw, you were like, whoa, well, I didn't even, like, when you wrote it, like, oh, maybe I didn't think of this scene this way, but I kind of like this bit. So, like, were there pieces that you took, like, that made it their way into your own interpretation? Or when you saw the play, was it very different from what you had originally?
It never, ever was the play as I envisioned it in my mind, but I didn't mind that because each production was so different, and I accepted that the piece was open to that. It wasn't tied down to a certain way that it must be done. And there's, most theater isn't tied down to a certain way it must be done, but there are people who revive older shows and whatnot that are very terrified to break tradition of the kind of thing an audience expects when they go and see something like Oklahoma, even though there was a production of Oklahoma that happened on Broadway in 2018, 2019. That was extremely controversial because it dissected and picked apart the normal traditional musical comedy thing about it all and found the very dark elements inside of the story that were already there. It just shone a light on them. It was just a very bright spotlight, or sometimes we were plunged into the darkness and just heard people whispering to each other. It was a very creepy, strange production that didn't always work, but it was, I find, very commendable to take material. Like, theater is supposed to, it's there to be interpreted. It's there to be, and that's the wonderful thing. That's the wonderful thing about theater. But the wonderful thing about film, especially like with an experience like this, is a piece that I am so familiar with and have a very long relationship with the characters and the story and all of the things that it has meant to me over time, because its meaning for me changes because I change, and it's a story that wants interpretation, even from me. And so I have my private ideas of what it's about, but those do change, and depending on my mood or where I am in my life. And but yeah, I don't know. I think that it really wanted to be a film the whole time.
Yeah, because it's interesting because I think you had sent me like a clip from one of the plays that I think maybe Dylan was in.
Yeah, it would have been the one that Dylan did.
Yeah, which was great to have him on set because
for me, especially me.
Yeah.
I mean, just good for notes regardless.
Yeah.
But it was so strange, especially in the beginning of rehearsal before I kind of made Alan my own. It was definitely a lot of like, all right, this bloke's done it before. Let's fucking like really take what he's saying into consideration and like what he sees me doing in this room, Yeah. And it was just really nice to have someone who's been through his mind before. And it's like, I obviously don't want to take his ideas, but I want to see what he's seeing in me.
Yeah.
Just
And
from
just
like an experience, like alone.
Yeah, and like some sort of like confirmation. Like if he's like, oh, that's good, then it's like, okay, I'm on the right path because of the previous person who's
him and Erik are always like fucking on the same wavelength, so they're usually agreeing on what is.
Yeah,
happy.
and I mean the wonderful thing about Dylan is not a very prescriptive consultant. He asks questions and he says how things make him feel, or if something feels weird, he'll point it out. But Dylan asks incredible questions that have significantly affected my work in many ways. I could be on the path to something, he'll read it and he'll ask me a question that will change my entire perspective on what the hell it is I'm writing. Like he's done that a couple of times, or he just gives really invaluable input because he tells me the truth.
Right.
He doesn't lie to me. And I think that's a problem that we have always had in the arts, are people who tell people that's wonderful because they don't want to be put in a position to tell the truth and perhaps actually help them improve upon what they're doing. It does become, I think, a sad day when an artist is more interested in hearing what they want to hear versus what they need to hear to perfect or solidify the best version they can do of whatever it is they're doing. I mean, why are we here? Why are we doing it?
I feel like a happy artist. So I forget, like, I'm gonna butcher the quote completely, but like a happy artist was one that like is in a room with everyone in it not as talented as them, so they keep getting all these people praising them. But like a go-getter artist would go into a room full of people better than them so they can like hear what the fuck they should do to improve themselves. But I feel like so many people are like, you were kind of saying, it's like, we don't really want to tell him his art sucks, because like, who am I to tell him like his art sucks?
Yeah, I mean, there's a way to. I feel like if you can't speak candidly about something,
right,
then like it's
but
just
if you're specifically asked, what do you think of this, and some people really want to know the answer to the question that is the truth, and other people want to hear what they want to hear.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So don't ask me what I think of things, because it is mental gymnastics to try to. If I know that you're going to lose your mind, if I didn't connect with your piece, or if I thought that the piece was not composed well, if I don't like your language, if I don't like your rhythms, if people don't sound like people. The really exciting thing about writing language for human beings is the ability to infuse poetry into that dialogue, and yet make it palatable to the tongue so that it can come out of their mouth naturally. And a lot of that has to do with rhythm and pacing. That I think that I'm very fortunate that I think that the rhythm of my work comes across all by itself without me having to point anything out.
Yeah, there was a lot of like witty and like, I don't say like sophisticated dialogue, but it all felt like totally natural just because of the way it was delivered and just the setting, right? Just from what we were just watching.
Thank you.
Which was nice because like, you know, sometimes you read it and you're like, oh, well, a person would never say this, but then you put it in the context. Like, you know what I mean? As if... Or I guess you read it as, okay, I don't know that I would say this, but then you see it happen and the way that it's paced and everything, and you're like, wow, that actually flowed really nicely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was a piece of dialogue in, in Tuesday that I know at least Dylan was a little bit concerned about it. Maybe somebody else was concerned about it. The actress who had to say it, Danielle Alonso, was not concerned about it to my knowledge, because she knew how to say it. But the line was, every day you are vanishing deeper inside yourself, I can't find you.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a concern that was a bit over the top language-wise. But the way that she delivered it was so organic and so natural. She found the pacing inside of the line that made it feel like three different thoughts all were happening at the same time. And finding the depth in that one delivery of that sentence is really spectacular. She's so good.
Yeah.
We should also give like a, one-liner, maybe like a log line of like what the Screens is about.
Oh, yeah. Eric, would you like to do that? Because that's kind of like what we are talking about, right?
Yeah. So the Screens is about what happens when a patient in a psychiatric hospital engages with an unfamiliar visitor and discovers the two might share a frightening connection.
I think that's a great way to put it, because it leaves just enough mystery so that when you go watch it yourself, you're not expecting something to happen, but you're also not left without information.
Yeah.
And I find, and like, we're, just for context, we're very knee deep into editing it right now. So it's not quite a picture lock, but we are very close, and we've gotten very close in a supernaturally fast amount of time. But I think a lot of that has to do with one, the editor is lightning. He's a lightning bolt. He's got
Andy Sharp,
Andrew M. Sharp.
That's right.
So he's such an expert at what he does, and I know exactly what I want.
Yes.
And so you put those two things together, and you have two very, very determined people on a mission to really find the best film in there possible. I think we have.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting. I think another part that's made editing easier is you're very selective in the shooting process too. Like it wasn't like I've been on film sets where we shoot literally like 40 angles for one scene.
Yeah.
And then you get to the
that
editing
sounds like
room.
a lot of money wasted.
It is because it's just from a director that doesn't know what they want yet.
I think the biggest difference is like, I mean, you guys did it in what, August. So 6 months. You went from, hey, let's do this to it's shot. 7 months.
Yeah.
But really, like, you know, you've been thinking about this for years, right? So you came in with an idea.
I've never been able to have my version of the screens.
Yeah.
And I've always, you know, seen other people's visions of it and what they think of it. And so it really was the question when I decided I want to do this. Then came the question of how the hell am I going to do this? But the answers started coming very quickly. I'm very grateful for that. I think a lot of it had to do with I found a really good example of what would become our set. I found a photograph of a abandoned visiting area in a psychiatric hospital, which became the inspiration for the set that we built. We built a set in a studio. It was
it looked amazing.
Cool. Yeah, that's the thing too.
So
is like
good.
it on.
So
I remember
good.
when we were first designing it. So like just like putting up the boards and everything, and like really like making it like putting the borders around the room, and then the paint layers, and then all the various elements that go into it, and it's just like then we get the final paint down. And then we start adding little touches, and now we're adding like little set pieces.
I saw photos, but I wasn't able to actually make it onto the set until like whatever it was, Saturday.
Of shooting.
Yeah. And it's like I walked in and it was dressed and the lights were set up and like the whatever thing was on the windows and I was like, dude, what the hell is this?
Yeah, like and as an actor, and I'm sure Harvey can attest to this too, but because of the way that the set was built, is that when you're in there, you're really in there.
Really in there.
Yeah,
really.
It's a fucking box.
Yeah.
And the windows had all that texture to it and all the light blowing out of it. So you literally feel like you're in a whole nother world.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
As
Just
a
being in
regular
there.
person, non-actor, regular person, it felt like we were just alone in that room, just like nobody else was outside it, whatever.
And it's trippy when
The
you
dude that
exit
went
the
over the
room
camera.
and you're like, it's just a warehouse. And
It's plywood.
Yeah, it's just plywood.
Yeah.
Plywood with paint.
Yeah. And that's what we walked into the first day was 3 pieces of plywood up, like hanging from the ceiling into the floor. And I'm just like, all right, let's get some work.
Yeah.
And then months later, and then it's like you start putting paint on, you start getting the cutouts for the windows, the radiators, and all the toys. It's just like, what the fuck?
Windows were found.
Yeah.
The windows were real.
Yeah, that's the thing
The
too. is
radiators were real.
And heavy radiators, by the way. Like solid
Putting those
cast
back
iron.
in
You
the
helped
truck.
with the
Yes, I did.
removal of
Yes, I did.
those.
Yeah. Because we had
I did the first one myself because Randy was on an important phone call.
Such a man.
Harvey was using the muscles from Maps Aesthetic to get them up there.
Important photo, yes, of me just like
Important phone call in the bathroom.
Yep.
That doesn't surprise me. There's that one day we were on set and we were in between things or something like that. And I don't know what propelled it, but you just had your shirt up and then like half the people on set were, oh, Harvey's abs, Harvey's little V.
Loving every moment of this right now.
You flexed your bicep. You were like, look at all of it, bitches.
I was really grateful that you did it because I, in a way, as part of not that I'm your trainer, but I have guided you
that
through.
That was 10 weeks of or it was 8 weeks of pretty hard work.
Yeah, and there was weeks before that too.
Yeah, I mean,
grinding
for a bit.
I mean, I got an update on my phone the other day that was like, 2 years ago, and it was like me and you in the gym, and I was like, oh my god,
shit, yeah, that's hilarious. Oh wow, really?
Yeah,
2 years ago.
Yeah, dude, because it was when we like kind of first met each other. And you're like, let's like work out, and like we did. We had like a few sessions.
We haven't kissed yet. So.
Yeah, but not yet.
Did you say make out or what did you say?
No.
You haven't kissed yet?
No, but they came. So
for the first
movie.
time on the podcast, two dudes.
I think now is the time. I
dude,
think we should all make out with.
all right. So the streets.
Just make out with our hands.
Oh god, all right.
Do people really is that something that people do?
What, make out with their hands?
Make out with their hands to practice?
What? No, I never
I thought it was
practiced.
always the pillow.
No, I don't
Really?
think.
What are you doing?
Did
Make
you
out with
practice
your
on a
pillow?
I
pillow?
don't think
No,
Harvey
that's like the
wants to
thing.
make out with his hands.
I thought
after,
that you-
what he's been
people
doing.
Really,
usually,
I have
like,
clammy
you know,
hands, dude. It's not a good idea.
grind
I can
against
see
their
the red from
pillows.
here.
Yeah, maybe I just did it the old-fashioned way, but I just kind of like,
I didn't
Kiss the
practice
girl?
on anything.
yeah,
I
just like
practiced on
kissed a girl.
girl.
Yeah,
the
that
first
was
one was the
first
unlucky
kiss.
one, dude.
Yeah, I never practiced kissing. So
Kinda
my
did
first kiss was with somebody who like was gonna eat my face off, and like it was just so aggressive.
an alligator?
It was
yeah.
like, "Rah, rah, rah, rah," but like
Yeah.
I kept hanging out with him for a while, but it was like he felt like he was gonna eat my face.
Yeah,
Oh,
I feel
man.
like, I mean, and how old were you?
I was 9.
Okay, it wasn't my first kiss, but it was my first makeout. And I
Okay.
think I was 17 or 18.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like sometimes with the age that comes in from like sort of just like,
Yeah.
you know, not
Yeah.
really knowing
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you're
yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
And so,
Wow, this was a big switch in topics.
yeah, it
Well,
was. That's okay.
That's
I
crazy.
kind of
I'm here
organically
for it.
went there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Strangely
Kinda
enough.
happens.
Yeah. But
I guess I started that too.
yeah, you did.
Yeah, wow.
You did. It's okay. It's your fault. But
Yeah, you literally put us in this, and now you're
And
just
now
bitching
I'm
about
backing
it.
out, dude.
Yeah. that's-
Start, quit, dude. I'm in the lobby waiting.
Yeah, like, wait, can we get back to the set design?
Oh, God.
Let him into the Zoomer.
Let him-
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, maybe back onto the screens. But like building the set, being there was nuts for me. And I feel like everywhere we went was kind of like that. Like the porch sequence, I won't name the ending, but the porch sequence is very like contained in a room.
Mhm.
The ending sequence is contained in a room. They're all, and then that set is just so mesmerizing that by
Yeah.
the time we get to the end of that thing, and like it's just so like
Yeah.
we're just nothing else exists, which
Yeah.
was great for me as an actor because I wasn't thinking about where the camera was. I wasn't thinking about the boom mic.
Yep.
And I wanted that to be that way because even though I was like, you know, executive producer or whatever, I didn't want to wear that hat while I was being an actor because I didn't want to be thinking about,
Yeah.
I'm Randy the producer. It's like, no,
Yeah.
I am Damien.
This demanded a good amount of respect of like just like doing the fucking work and just like you're an actor
yeah.
and you're in this room and we got a lot of people here.
Yeah, we made a decision before we started shooting that there would be no rollback.
Oh yeah, that was that's another very unique thing too, which is that you were like, you
A
are
lot
not
of trust right there. You
yeah,
know?
you are not to watch any playback, which was
Mhm.
at first a bit scary, but I think the only reason why I was really on board with it was because I knew I could trust you. I knew that I didn't have to watch me because you were watching me like a hawk. And you weren't going to be the director that was going to be like one of the things that you said that was so beautiful after we finished was there was this little smirk that you would always make or this little thing that you would always do. And I knew if I just told you to go for another take, it would happen. But I didn't have to tell you, hey, can you tilt your face this way and squint a little bit? You know, like that wasn't there. And I feel like it's so easy as a director to over direct your actors. And so I felt so free. And yet we still got the job done.
Well, yeah, because it was like there were certain takes where I was like, he's almost giving me what I want, but I'm not going to tell him what it is I want because I want him to do it by himself. And you would.
Yeah.
You would. And those moments are in the film. Like at the very beginning, you have like these very ambiguous, sinister smiles that sort of happen. And the film is peppered with this unnatural behavior, but it's performed so naturally, but it is very off and is, but I won't say what it is, but we were struck gold with our final location because it was just in every way, shape, and form exactly
Down to the colors.
what it needed to be.
Oh, down to the colors.
Just down to the
dude.
Down to the colors, which
Yeah.
matched the
paint on the walls of the room.
paint on the walls of the set.
Yeah.
And so it really is like there are 3 locations
Yeah,
for this
it's really
film. All 3 of
Bonkers,
them
dude.
are as
the shutters
different.
on the windows.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
crazy.
And like the happy accident of, again, won't name the location, but we were supposed to film during the day for the ending location.
I'm so glad that fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Kind of worked out.
Yeah, it was like one of those things where it's like, Harvey's
Except, yeah, that put Harvey in a position where he was crouched in a ball for 3
Oh,
hours.
dude. Oh, I have to tell the story of Paul.
Oh,
yeah.
dude,
My best
Poor,
friend,
poor
Paul.
Paul.
Dude, poor
dude,
Paul
Paul's
Stamper.
trapped in a corner as well.
Oh my God, dude. Paul was,
Well,
so it was a
Paul.
very small bathroom. And when you open the door, the shower was then behind the door, like when you swung the door all the way open. So then you're closing off the entrance to the shower. So now Paul's just in a box, on his Apple box. And so he's on an Apple box just sitting there and the door's closed. And all I see is just this little, just this poking out of the door. I'm like 2 hours in, and I'm like, oh God, I'm definitely gonna fuck. And then like
It went on for so.
Oh my God, no. Eric,
Literally
have I told
from
you the
day
story?
until night.
Which one?
I'm about to say it right now.
Oh, I'm here.
Okay, so I'm sitting there and I'm squatting, and I got the mic right here and this boom mic right there, and then I just let out a gnarly fart. And and Paul's there with his $2,500 mic, and he just goes, "Are you kidding me?" And then I'm just like, Paul, I'm so sorry. And this was like my first like,
Give me some slack.
like
Paul.
just me and
sit
him
on the ground.
Was it
Dude, and he was
a
just like
powerful odor changing?
Oh no! It's just more noise. But
Yeah.
he said, "I'm glad you're this comfortable around me in the end." So
Something
it became,
you don't want
it
to
became
hear.
something.
Something you don't want to listen to in like hi-fi audio.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah, that's the other
Wet
thing.
fart.
He's got like
Dude,
headphones
and
in.
he's
It's like,
just the sweetest guy, and it was just, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
I'm just like,
that?
dude,
That goes right into his ear.
right into
Yeah.
his ear.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
like
Oh,
high quality sound,
dude, it
like
was-
imagery inducing sound. You know what I mean? Like he was
Imagery-inducing
probably sitting
sound.
there like, oh my God.
Wow.
Dolby
Yeah.
surround sound
Yeah.
part
Yeah,
cover.
dude. Close his eyes and just
Get the
saw a
butt
starfish, dude.
saw a starfish, bro.
Oh,
Come on.
it's just no good. It's just no good.
Oh, that's
But
awful.
always joy.
Oh,
Yes,
Oh,
but yes.
But anyway, the happy accident of that being, oh, you unplugged it.
yeah,
The
sorry,
happy
go ahead.
accident of that being that, like, in what I think, I always wonder on like major sets when they have all the money in the world and they can be like, oh, we'll come back on a different day when we get the take that we wanted that's during the day. But for us, we don't have that luxury, and we're constrained to the time that we have. And so all of a sudden, the day shoot becomes a night shoot, and then we're like, well, wait a minute, it's way better at night.
It was way better. There was a way to illuminate certain background images that really added depth and
that you couldn't actually see as well before in the daytime.
no, well, you could see the things, but you couldn't see the depth. I think if it had been a daytime shot, as Layla pointed out, our continuity person,
Script
that
advisor.
yes, our script supervisor, she pointed out it would have been flat. It would have been a really flat picture.
Yeah.
She said it would have been cool. It would have been creepy, but it wouldn't have been this. And what
It's
I
menacing. It's
Yeah.
all menacing, and it's darker.
what I love about it though is that there's a lot of homaging happening, and some of it's accidental in that last shot because there is an irrefutable callback to the end of the shower scene in Psycho, and the way the camera pans away from Janet Leigh dead on the floor, and where the camera goes and whatnot. But our camera keeps going, and we enter into the night when we move through the room that we're in, and we enter into the night. And the way that Michael Cravata's lights set up and the way that it was splashing, it didn't look like this in person. It just looked like the place was blazing
Blazed.
and
Yeah,
light.
Yeah.
But on camera, it was just this really ominous blue
Yeah.
lighting
What
that
light did we
harkens
have?
back to Halloween,
So
John Carpenter's
600D.
Halloween.
600D.
Yeah, it was a 600D with a giant
That was our
globe.
sun. Yeah.
Yeah, that just functioned as like a moonlight essentially.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
It
it was
worked
cool to
so
have
well.
a lighting situation at the end of the film that looks exactly like the night scenes that were shot in
Yeah.
Halloween in 1978. And that's
Wow.
completely an accident, but it is the same.
I gotta look at
It's the
that.
same way that night looks in that film,
Yeah.
which when I saw that through Isaiah's camera, our cinematographer, Isaiah Providence, who is
Fantastic.
kind of a genius, it really blew my mind. I was like, I'm accidentally homaging one of the greatest horror films of all time. And it's totally an accident just because by the very nature of this was supposed to be a day shot and now it's a night shot. And it wouldn't look like this had it been in the daytime. So it was just all sort of how it happened.
Yeah. And that's what makes me wonder on like those really big budget sets is like, you know, when you do have essentially, I don't want to say infinite money, but when you're working with millions and millions of dollars and you have the option to be like, we'll come back to this on a different day, you often wonder like how many happy accidents are missed
Yeah.
just due to the size of your
because,
budget.
so much of it is happy accidents where you have to find a solution. And often the solution is better than the original idea.
Yeah.
I think with my scene in the last one was definitely like I fell into that by the fourth hour. It was just like, yeah, no, he's kind of in this, and we're just gonna whatever he does at the end is gonna be pretty nuts. So just
Yeah.
like let him rock because he's fucked up. And I was just like, and I was fucked up, dude. I was not in a good, I was pissed. I was just like, oh. And then it definitely put me deeper into that like weirdness.
Dude, yeah, so your close-up is magic.
Nice. Yeah, it's nice.
It is amazing.
And I hate watching myself, but that was nice.
Yeah.
Well, you weren't watching yourself. I keep saying
I know.
it.
You keep saying it. Dude. Yeah. You're so right.
Yeah. Wait a minute. In what way?
It was Alan.
No, that's Alan. That's the character. That's not Harvey.
Yeah,
what you really need to do is internally, you need to split those personalities and then one day turn into Alan for a couple hours and then, you know. Yeah.
I'm sure that all the people close to you would really enjoy that if you just became
him
that'd be great. An hour a day. Yeah. I'm sure that'd be wonderful for your psychology.
I'll do it at work,
yeah.
Well,
nightmare.
Well, it's definitely one of those things, dude, where like, you know, I think with my character, I was very much like the backboard.
Oh yeah.
For Alan to bounce off of.
Oh yeah, Damien is the gravity.
Yeah, and I think like he
holds everything down.
Yeah, and that was so my challenge was like the exact opposite of yours, where it's like you were supposed to be kind of grand and big without being too grand and too big, and I was supposed to be like solid, like rock solid, but not be boring.
Right.
And that is actually, oddly enough, a very tough thing to like not be boring while just being straight,
while
like
being
just
the
straight
rock
shot. Yeah.
And not be boring.
Yeah.
It's hard. Like that was a team structure that was perfected with George Burns and Gracie Allen. They were doing their show together in the 40s and the 50s because she was the funny one, and George Burns was the straight man. And if anyone doesn't know, you should just throw yourself out.
All right,
but
open the window.
Yeah, greatest comedians of all time. But he was very happy to be her straight man. They were deeply in love, and he figured out how to maintain absolute confidence and attention of the audience, being the sane one. And the two of them bounced off each other so beautifully. And we have a situation like here too, because I've said to Harvey, I think I said it to you, that you have takes that's your take.
Yeah. Where the whole take is like,
this is the best one. This is the best one for him. All across the board for the most part.
Right.
With Harvey, because of the nature of the character, is like this part of this take is great and this part of this take is great. And there's just pieces that offered us so many opportunities for how much do we want, how much less do we want.
Right.
And the foundation of your performance made it a lot easier for us to play with Alan.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're able to sort of be like if this is really consistent and we're bouncing off of that, like, ooh, this bounces nicely here, this bounce, it's like it's just like a cool like little kind of like musical composition that you're making.
Yeah, and the characters force that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now, I'm actually curious though, Erik, because you've been doing plays for so long now, but now you're getting into film. So it's like, are you thinking about pivoting more towards film, or are you thinking like you always, you know what I mean? Like
very layered relationship with theater, in that I love theater, but I don't often enjoy the way that people who quote run theater behave.
Right.
And I grew up in several toxic environments that were, like I grew up in a children's theater where the environment was very domineering, very controlling. There were some very dark aspects to that children's theater that I'm not going to, talk about here. It involves other people as well. But then going from there into a college environment where once again it was overbearing, domineering, power hungry, power plays, manipulations, gaslighting, lying to people, all for the sake of getting what you want out of them. Sometimes it was in favor of neglecting some students, and so that other students could reap the benefits of favoritism. And I think that some of the, because I was a student that was kind of, it was a very strange relationship with that theater department, because I would kind of be noticed. And I'm winning awards from the Kennedy Center and being accepted into really prestigious playwriting things. And but
where's our wham button? Sorry.
Oh, that's a
Sorry, not to derail you. I wanted to winning awards.
Wham.
Yeah.
Wham, 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 wham. But that was happening simultaneously while I was in an environment where I would come back from having a play produced in San Francisco, and I'm still in college, and the chair of the department would come up to me when he first saw me return, and he'd say, "Well, how was San Francisco?" And I would say, "Oh, it was fantastic." And then he would say, "Well, great, but you're back here now." And there was a very clear message that I think that a lot of people got, whether they were favorites or ignored or whatever. The idea of success, I think, was frowned upon. And there are a lot of people who were being showered with opportunities in that department who unfortunately didn't really go into the arts as some did, but who didn't really end up pursuing a career acting, a career, some of them have turned into really wonderful teachers though. And I think that, through their experience with that department, they learned a lot of what I learned how to do, was how not to treat people and how not to speak to people. And you don't need to abuse people to get a good performance out of them. Like the most important thing that exists in any relationship, whether it be private or professional or a combination of both, is trust. And if you don't have that, if you can totally put a project together fueled by fear. That is a relevant, effective way to do it that has been done many times. And there are many films, if we're talking about films, there are many films that were made under the extraordinary abuse of the director in charge. The Exorcist is one of them. Those people went through hell, physical hell. Yeah. An actor wasn't giving the director what he wanted at one point, so the director walked up to him and smacked him on the face, and then called action because he wanted him to be like shaking and crying. So he beat him and that's the take that's in the film. It's near the end of the film when the priest is giving the guy who fell down the stairs and died his last rites. And he's over him and he's shaking and he's saying the prayer. And that's really him responding to having the fuck slapped out of him prior to calling cut.
I had no idea.
You don't have to do that too. And of course, that's not something that really I think anyone would be able to get away with now, thank God. But there are other ways of expressing greedy power dynamics. And there are directors and people who are in leadership positions who want there to be a community that is healthy. And some people just want to be in charge. Right. And they're very different things.
So is that attitude pretty commonplace in theater, would you say?
It really is a case-by-case basis. Because all the actors that I know in theater are wonderful people. The stage managers and the technicians that I know are wonderful, wonderful people. And a director situation. And I've had some, and I'm sure their versions of the story might be very, very different from mine. But as I recall certain incidents and as the actors who were there recall them, they are very much in alignment with what I remember. And that's being bullied. And I think that for a very long time, my personality welcomed that kind of behavior. I think that I was in a place emotionally and mentally where sometimes I didn't even realize I was being treated like shit until an actor would say, "I can't believe he talks to you that way." And this did happen. And I, on that particular day, I said, "What do you mean?" He said, and he was like, the way he looks at you, he condescending tone every time he speaks to you. He said, how are you dealing with this? And I said, you know what? I'm so used to this that I didn't even notice it was happening again. And it's unfortunate because it just doesn't have to be that way. But there is a push-pull between writers and directors, a lot, often, where whose show is this? Especially with an original production of a show. Whose show is this? And some directors really think that they are what they want should override what the writer wants and vice versa. And it's always wonderful when a director and a writer, and I've had this too, when a director and writer come together and they're doing the same show.
Yeah, they're working
they're
together.
both doing the same show.
Right.
And that's why writer-directors are the best.
I don't know if they're always the best, but I do know that
for our situation, it's been pretty nice.
It's worked out fine for us. But I think that I think that the advantage that I have is I've always been really good at editing myself and stepping away from something, even for just a day, and then coming back to it and realizing this doesn't work, this works better than I thought it did. But in order for this to work better, this has to happen, this has to happen. And I'm not particularly precious with my work. I am protective of it, but I'm aware when something isn't working. Same thing when we were directing and putting it together. I didn't block it, say, okay, now we've got the blocking, we'll shoot it in a couple months. It wasn't like that. We went on a hunt to look for the characters. And how we profited from that is really, it says everything. I believe in rehearsal.
Yeah, well, the whole rehearsal process was the key to us being able to do what we did, because I can't imagine, like I'm in a short coming up in the summer and there's just no talk of rehearsal. There's no talk of rehearsing. It just seems like one of these films where we're going to be walking on set and everyone's going to be meeting each other for the first time. And
that's hard.
It's like it's its own actor's challenge. So I'm up to do that, but I just know that it's not the most ideal. And it's like, if everyone did take a moment to take the extra steps and do some rehearsals, we could maybe figure out some stuff that could be better, way better than if we're just doing it on the day.
Obviously, not every production is given the leeway for that kind of time, especially with the amount of content that's being expected from every single affiliate to be churning something out every other minute. We have way too much content now, and then the really good things are getting lost in the shuffle of a bunch of rush jobs. And so, I mean, I understand, like with Tuesday, we didn't really have any rehearsals at all. But what we did do was we congregated and spent time together so that the natural organic rhythm of the actors could already be in place by the time we got on set. Because we didn't rehearse Tuesday till we were on set shooting.
And I think that one in particular, though, was like...
felt better for that one to be more spontaneous.
Yeah, that one I think didn't have to be rehearse as much, mainly because they're also, I mean, at least for me, I had like 10 lines or something, you know?
Yeah, but your acting in that is all your face and your posture and, you know.
Yeah, my acting was very physical in that one, which is its own challenge. Now, outside of that, was I hyper prepping for it? 100%. But it's so much different with this, where we're literally rehearsing it like a play so that we can do it from every single moment that we want to drop the hat on. It's like, oh, what scene are we doing this moment?
Yeah. I've never ever done that before. Like,
me neither.
Like features or anything. Like, I know, like, I'm gonna have some coming up, but like that I'm gonna have to rehearse for. But I've never so far rehearsed something like that in depth and for that many like hours. Just like, we're gonna drive there. We're gonna fucking do it for like 4 or 5, 6 hours. And then you're going to fuck off. And then we're going to do that again this month. Yeah. And then you're going to fuck off. Then we're going to do it again until we get something that's like, because it is so malleable. And like, even you were having like all these different thoughts coming up with, especially me, you kind of got like your backboard set up by like the second or third rehearsal.
Yeah.
You were pretty on it.
Yeah.
And so mine was definitely a little more difficult just on my end of just like me finding an appropriate version of him that we both agreed on and like felt comfortable doing, and it like worked off of his. So yeah, no, it was definitely cool, and it definitely came into fruition day one of filming.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right away. Well, the mission was rehearse it until I felt comfortable enough so that if I picked the two of you up and put you on a stage in front of an audience, you could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And once it was there, that's when I started pruning away the stagey aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the body of the film is very much a play, but it's an extraordinarily visually crafted depiction of what a play, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to combine the theatricality of the stage with cinematic nature of film and just kind of like mush it all together. And I think that somehow we've gotten away with it because it's some extremely theatrical moments in the film that are undeniably very theatrical.
Right.
Yeah.
But they work.
Yeah.
I know, dude. Like, it's so funny. Like, looking back on it, like, me and you will probably not do something like that for a while.
Yeah. that's a
Like,
good
if
point.
again, like, do something like film as a play to start, like as a rehearsal, and then like mold it into this film that is now what we have. It's just like, dude, like,
Yeah,
what?
I actually don't think that we will find that until we get something that's like maybe super, super high budget and we're like leads on it.
Yeah.
And then they're like months in rehearsal. But I'm actually surprised how often that even like some of these like major like Lifetime movies that film around here, they're hiring like pretty major actors like 2 weeks before it films.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
dude, there's
I'm, like,
some,
so
there's
That
some,
surprised by
happens
that.
a lot. There's some people drop out the day before shooting begins. They rush someone in.
It's nuts.
And you know, the first thing they'll shoot will be like some dramatic thing that they just got a script for the day before or 2 days before.
there's some funny,
It's
funny
amazing.
stories I've heard of just like professional actors, like A-listers, getting partial scripts. And it's just like they get this partial script and he's like reading through it and he talks with the director and he's just like, yeah, filming's in 2 weeks. He's like, yeah, just kind of get this partial script in your head and we'll figure it out day one. And then like he gets the lines on the day and he gets like some rehearsal in with the director to get it going. And then it's just like, bang, let's hit it. And it's just like, dude, you were given a partial feature script. You got 40 pages out of 120.
I think
Run
that,
it.
like, why don't
Professional
you?
actor,
But
you
it's
know? Like,
crazy.
that's like-
but it's like
You do it long enough,
the
but-
dynamic you need with a director like that to like actually make it work is fucking
To
like,
trust that,
dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, because obviously there are movies happening all the time where they're rewriting
during.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you know, and that's intense. But you know, that sounds like it could be, while anguish, a lot of fun.
Like kind of fun, yeah, a
lot
little
of fun.
exciting.
It's all fun. That's the thing about it. The spontaneity of it is fun.
Yeah.
The
happy accidents and everything. It's all
well, the ability to have these incredibly personal moments with my actors, when there are like 30 people standing around.
yeah.
But everyone, when they see those moments happening, back off. They make themselves invisible somehow. It's really rather, or maybe we're just really focused on whatever we're talking about. But nobody is an intrusion, and it's very. You can have like this really beautiful privacy in a room full of people.
In a room full of people. Yeah, it is very strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sets with the right people are definitely a bit of a magical thing.
Yeah. Well, it's so this has been a long-winded sort of answer to done plays for a while.
Oh, yeah.
But now that you've done,
Am I pivoting?
Yeah. Are you pivoting a little bit? Because you're so good at the directing thing.
I
really
do
are.
love it. I directed a musical, a stage musical in October, and ended up having a blast doing that. And that was my first.
That was Stephen May, right?
Yeah, and that was my first. And it was a one woman reflection of her life and her life in the theater and all of that. And it was beautiful. And the way that she and I collaborated on it was exciting and adventurous. And she really opened herself up to her life to really go beyond the fond memories of, and to really look at what occurred in her life and how she feels about it right now versus how she might have dealt with it or thought of it in order to deal with it back then. And she realized a lot of things, and it was I think that she came out of it stronger than she was before she went into it. And she's a pretty strong cookie to begin with. But I had not done anything theatrical prior to that, stage-wise, that I can recall off the top of my head until my last play was produced in 2020. And we were able to get our run in before all hell broke loose.
Right.
But which I'm very, very grateful for. But then, you know, with the pandemic and everything, it all just sort of stopped. I did a couple of virtual theater things that doesn't feel like theater at all. It's just sort of
that was
like
one of my first jobs or something. A virtual
yeah,
theater
and
thing
it's
over-
like desperately trying to.
that.
Dude,
It's so
what
weird.
it was for it was a really famous play, and I'm gonna kick myself for not remembering it. I'm
That famous, huh?
Yeah, that famous. As a movie guy, that play is that famous.
I'm your mirror. You, it's a mascara.
Oh, right here.
No, I'm your mirror.
Oh,
Is that your face?
Can you just
Yeah, I
take a
got
bit
it.
of your face off
That wasn't your
face?
face.
Oh, I just had a dot.
It's like,
on my
have I
face this whole
never
time.
noticed your dot on your face?
That'd be like looking at my face. Like
I've been
See,
like
now-
looking at your face in close up for days, and it's like, how did I miss this black dot?
now that's all that anyone's gonna see. It's just like if I had like sauce on the side of my, it's just like they're only gonna see that.
Oh
This
yeah,
they're not
that's like
gonna hear a
the
word I'm
Jake
saying. They're just
Gyllenhaal
gonna go,
interview with
Yes,
the Hot
dude,
Ones too.
yes,
He's like,
dude.
this is all people will see.
This is all people will see.
Man, I hope so.
Shit.
But
Still haven't answered it. Though.
I am.
We're dancing around
well,
it.
I'm going to be a. I'm part of putting together this event, and I'm going to host the event that's honoring a dancer and choreographer that has been a mentor to a great many people, including me. I'm going to be doing that in June, and deep into conversations now about potentially directing a stage piece that would have performances in December. So I'm wanting very much to, because it's the first time back was such a positive experience in so many ways. And
Right.
I needed a win with theater because it's just, so much of it is so tumultuous.
Yeah.
And that was a great group of people. That was a wonderful camaraderie that we all shared. And we were all there for the same reason. And we were all there for the same purpose and wanted the same thing. And that's so wonderful when you're surrounded by people who are all doing the same show, doing the same film.
Yeah.
It makes all the difference. There, people naturally come with egos, but you can utilize your ego for something productive as opposed to me. And me people are exhausting because they don't contribute anything other than their presence, which I'm sorry isn't enough. If your attitude is it's all about me, because it's not. It takes everyone to do what we do. It takes everybody who is there. And people are replaceable. Sure, but you replace that person with that person. And if you lost a good person in place of somebody who isn't that much fun to be around, that changes the entire dynamic of the set.
Yep.
Or vice versa. Somebody goes who wasn't a good time and is replaced by someone who is. And these are
mindset.
It changes everything. And these are all people who are great at their jobs and know what they're doing. And when people are great at their jobs and know what they're doing, why wouldn't you want to work with the people who want to contribute a positive energy to the experience and have some damn joy while they're doing it? That's
go
the
the
thing.
extra
That's
mile
like,
for us too. We had like a lot of people just do extra, just like so many, just like extra, just to like help out and make it come together. So we got really lucky with having a bunch of wankers.
Yeah, we had a lot of really great wankers during Tuesday too. There was a really fantastic team of people. Like I said, once again, they were all there for the same reason, for the same purpose, and it was really wonderful. And we had a very different experience with the screens by the very nature of what the film is and the different locations of it. And I think that it asked a great deal more of us than Tuesday did, just because of the technical nature of it, the different locations, the attitude, the light design, the atmosphere.
Because we had some pretty crazy light things going on.
It's a very dark, strange fable that it's a film that cinematically and visually does a lot of crazy things, and that's on purpose so that you will hear what they're saying, because what they're saying is the important part.
Yeah. So I think my takeaway from that answer is that you want to still do both.
I want to still do both, but I mean, I'm already to start work on the next film. Like
I know.
That's where I'm at.
It's all about them funds. It's all about where that money comes from.
Well, let's get you an OnlyFans.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Maybe me and China just got to ramp up her OnlyFans. You know what I mean?
Hey, man. Yeah, whatever pays the
I mean,
bills.
if you want to pimp out China, I'm sure she'd love to hear
it'd
that.
be me pimping out myself too, because I'd have to
just
be
with someone,
involved.
so it's less.
Yeah.
So you just do lots of like really sexy pictures together.
Yeah. You know,
I'm sure that'd be really difficult for you.
Yeah, that would. Oh shit. Well, I think we've been going for about an hour now
Already.
Oh, you can count too. That's crazy.
Yeah, no. Occasionally, I'm capable of
just
doing a few things.
Didn't shut the fuck up during most of this.
No, no. It's good though, because you make it go by really fast, man. It's a lot of like good conversation. I'm trying to think. Is there anything we want to touch on before we head out? I'm trying to think of like talked a lot about the screens. You as a director, you got some stuff you're excited about.
We're in post-production.
We'll
be throwing it at festivals soon, and we'll see what happens. This because of it's a genre film that opens us more to more festivals.
Yeah,
So-
I agree, because it's not just like Tuesday was just drama, so it kind of just like you can't submit to like a horror fest or any sort of like thriller type things.
Yeah, and I have a lot of faith in this film, and I think that people are the horror community is very wanting. They're very loyal, and they're very. I think that as far as films are concerned, the horror community is by far and wide the tightest knit.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
they want good things. They want good content. They want to support filmmakers who are doing different things and exciting them.
I agree.
And-
Yeah, and I think horror has a really good appreciation for like all aspects of the filmmaking. So like a horror enthusiast will notice when something is shot well and it sounds good and the story's compelling, whereas like someone who's just a maybe action comedy guy or gal or whoever is going there and they're just seeing like a film and they're like, oh, that was good, but they're not thinking about shot
Ooh, yeah, it's
composition and lighting and
And especially because we have a horror movie here that is more in the family of something that Ty West would be doing, or Ari Aster, or things like that. And I'm not trying to be, nor do I want to be, but it is very much in more in that realm of there is an art to it that is very specific, but it's not pretentious and it's not weird in a, well, what is that? It demands interpretation, it demands your attention, but it does so in really interesting and experimentally exciting ways that I think work. So I believe that, it's going to get some attention, and it's well deserved because we all worked. We did good work on it. It's not just that we all worked so hard. We did
With purpose.
good work
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
And there's a difference.
Yeah.
I don't want to be applauded because, oh, you made a cute little movie. I don't even care about being applauded, but I do want the movie to be applauded because it's effective. It's effective.
Yeah. Yeah. And it tells a interesting and new story to me, where it's like, I don't know that I've really seen these events play out to the point where I think someone will sit in a seat in a theater and there's going to be someone who's like, I know what's going on. And we're
Well,
going
right, but
to hopefully capture that person that thinks they know what's happening. And all of a sudden they're not going to know what's happening. at all.
They might know something that's happening.
Yes.
And they might be validated in that. But then should that happen, there's something else right around the corner that's going to shake them up. And once again, they'll be back and wait a minute. What is going on here? And that's why I like it, because there are many twists and turns in it. It's not a big twist movie. It's all a twist.
Yeah. It always keeps you guessing. We'll sell you the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge of it.
Yeah.
All right.
Shit.
Okay. All
right, and on that one.
That made me feel sexy.
Well, guys, thanks so much for hopping on. It was a ton of fun. I can't believe how fast that goes because it's already almost 9 o'clock. So,
Wow. Whoa.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, probably didn't see that
It
one
was
coming, right?
daytime before we went in.
Yeah,
there.
literally, there
Awesome.
was light outside before we started.
Wow. Well,
Um,
thank you for having us.
Yeah, it was a blast,
lovely.
man. I'm so glad we got the chance to do it. And
Thanks for coming down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thanks for warning me before you started recording.
we were recording
Ultra
far
extra
before you
professional.
thought
Likes
we
to do
were.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got all
Yes.
those dirty secrets. I don't know if you guys want to promote yourselves in any way, if you want like social media shout outs or anything like that. I know Harvey doesn't give a shit, but
Yeah,
you might.
Harvey doesn't give a shit. I'm erikchampney.com. That's ErikCham as in mom, P-N as in night, E-Y. So champ, N-E-Y. E-R-I-K, champ, N-E-Y. .com.
Yes.
But it's like if you want to know about anything that I'm working on or everything, it's a pretty comprehensive website. So
Yeah, his
and
website's sick, actually.
And if you're interested in having a conversation with me, there's a contact section. Or you can just call my agent. My agent loves talking to people about me.
My name's Harvey Lipman, and I'm an actor.
All right. Well, that's enough of that.
Yeah,
All right,
okay.
Hi,
shut up.
Nate.
I think we already hit. I think we already hit
I
stop.
want to make a Hallmark movie.
Yes.
there you go.
Yes.
I think that I could pull off like the ultimate. We were talking about this in the car on the way
were.
here.
It's going to be a Christmas movie.
It'd have to be a
I'm about
Christmas
to Hugh
movie.
Grant the shit out of it, dude.
Oh,
we can't give
dude.
away too much because the ideas that we came up in the car are really good.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
figured out a way to like incorporate all of the best aspects of a Hallmark holiday film and just mush them all together into something that I think would work.
It was hilarious, like the talk. It was ridiculous. But
Wow. Well, the thing is I know you could write it. And I think
it'd be so much fun.
this isn't like, we'll hear about it after the pod because we don't want to give away anything. But my thought is that like a lot of them are like very, very much the same thing all the time. And I feel like you could give just enough of a knob turn so that it wasn't the same.
I think it would be I think it would be the door would open, the knob would turn, and the door would open. Because I have some fun ideas. I actually can't really wait I can't wait to tell you about them because they're just real cool.
Oh,
and
cool.
Harvey was thrown in too, but there will be snow.
Oh, is it going to be like a horror?
Oh,
twist?
No.
Just know there'll be snow.
No, because
there will be a child.
Consideration that
of course
there will be a child. There will be a family.
Tuesday was a drama. The Screens is a mystery horror thriller, and my Hallmark movie would just make
it's just gonna make you
laugh and cry and.
Let's get you the right
connection. Give me a Hallmark movie.
We're working on it. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thanks so much for listening to Bone Apple Tea. If you like the show, please give us a follow, like, comment, subscribe, whatever it is. Tell your friends about it. And make sure to follow us on Instagram. That's Bone Apple TV, BoneAppleTeaV on Instagram. Thanks so much.